Welcome, gamers. I'm Draxxinusam. We're doing something a little bit different here today. I'm just basically going to show you this guy here, which is the Lazy Newb pack. I'm just going to go through and show a few things. As always, the link in the description will take you to the Lazy Newb pack, and you can download it there. It's basically a program that you can install. Like, you basically download it and it's ready to go out of the box, basically. So here I've labeled this folder Dwarf Fortress, but it's basically, I downloaded it here and extracted it. And this is how it'll come out. So it'll start in this zip file, and it'll create these sort of groupings here. Lazy Newb pack basically points to these sort of specific folders here, and then the actual program is just there, and it will bring up this window here. So this window basically runs Lazy Newb pack itself. From here you can basically set all the sort of things that you want to have to your fortress. You can set any population cap. I happen to set mine to 400. Sometimes between saves you can adjust that as well, and it'll basically stop migrants later on in your fortresses. It can kind of get overwhelming. Invaders. This is basically if you're afraid of sieges. I tend to think it adds a level of level of difficulty that makes the game a little bit more interesting. So I myself have this turned on, but you can definitely turn it off there. Child cap, basically that's how many dwarves to how many children of dwarves. If you don't actually have Lazy Newb pack, the number of children can get pretty ridiculous, where like you'll have more children than you'll have dwarves, and that can be kind of bad. Cave-ins. If you're a little bit crazy about how you've set up your caves, basically, if you're making rooms too large, and you do it over and over and over and over, eventually, like in the middle, it'll cave in because there won't be any support there. So the game basically sees it as sagging and then breaking. Temperature and weather are kind of the same thing. Basically, you can have, this basically has the effects of temperature, so like if it's too hot or too cold, and then the weather is basically raining or snowing or any sort of thing like that. Varied ground, I wouldn't mess with that, and liquid depth, I also would not mess with that. Aquifers, depending on where I put this video, either before or in the next video, I'll basically talk about aquifers. You can definitely turn those off just to make it a little bit easier. I personally use it just because I think it keeps the world a little bit more interesting. So graphics, for the first set of Dwarf Fortress I've done, I basically haven't messed with this. In the second half of the video games, you'll basically install this and run it. It'll create this sort of there's definitely different types of skins out there, but this is the one that tends to be the easiest for people to get. So I would recommend this one. You just install, and then if you happen to have any saved games, just update those, and it'll get you going. Utilities, this is basically what comes with it, and you can run or refresh if you want to add some in, or if you want to get rid of some people. That's also an option. Here, you can set a few things. Sound is a big one. Just because while the guitar, like, for the first couple of times I actually played Dwarf Fortress, it was absolutely entrancing, and I was like, oh my god, this guitar speaks to my soul. But after about 6 games or so of playing like 30 hours or more each game, I kinda got tired of the music. So I turned it down. Even this is actually a bit too loud. I'd probably go somewhere like 30. But that's up to you. If you want to enjoy the guitar, it's actually very well done, and I definitely recommend at least listening to it a little bit. Intro, it's basically the same thing over and over. It basically goes through all the things dwarves do. If you've played the game even once, you should have seen it, unless you skipped through it. It's kind of cute, but sort of like in movies or shows, how you sort of know the introduction, and you're like, alright. That's basically what that is, which is why mine is set to no. Windowed, obviously you know what that is. Autosave is here. I highly recommend this. You can have it to yearly, none, or seasonal. Yearly is kind of a long time, so I set mine to seasonal just because yearly can be a good 20 minutes or so. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Here, pause on save is basically whenever it saves the game, it'll pause it. It's up to you. Pause on load, so basically when you load the game, it'll be paused. Backup saves, basically, as you can read there, if a game makes a backup. Here, it's compress saves, so just basically leave that on, as you can see the tooltip there. I mean, and it does sort of give you the tooltips, and you can save there, and so it's not too complex. I wouldn't mess with the processor priority, and you can always take a look at your save game. And if you ever want to sort of like mess with sort of things, it's open here. That tends to be for a little bit more advanced users. I wouldn't necessarily mess with it unless you know what you're doing. I've messed with it sometimes for medical purposes to try and save dwarves, but it doesn't necessarily apply to save games, just games you create after that. But that's a story for another time. But when you're ready to play, you have all your settings ready to go. You can either come up here and run Dwarf Fortress, or you can click this little guy here when you're happy with your settings, and you can play there. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started, and we will see you in-game. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon, gamers.